whole Saga of Genesis thing? Sounds like a bunch of stuck-up rule followers got their clocks cleaned. Chronomasters? Please. More like chrono losers, am I right? They thought they could boss around time. And guess what? Time laughed in their faces, vanished in some temporal mists. Good riddance, I say. The universe probably got a little less boring without them trying to control everything. And then they have the nerve to come back, crawling out of whatever hole they fell into. Jarring return from oblivion? Sounds dramatic. Probably just tripped over their own feet. And of course they're not in some neat little Legion office. Oh no, they're in some crazy messed up place with colors that don't even make sense. Serves them right for trying to play God with time. This Kronos dude, the so-called leader, his near absolute control is now a strained whisper, huh? Tells you how much control anyone really has. And Avum, the assassin, her detached professionalism is being tested. Welcome to the real world, sweetheart. Things don't always go according to your precious plans. And Kairos, the brainiac, his perfect little calculations are useless now. Maybe he should have calculated that possibility. And Tempest, at least he sounds like he's got some fire in him, even if he's volatile. This whole twisted time knot they're in sounds like a party waiting to happen. They're stranded? Well, boo-hoo. Maybe they should have thought about the consequences before they started messing with stuff they didn't understand. Now they're temporal exiles? Good. Maybe they'll learn to mind their own business. Their saga just began anew? More like their headache just began anew. And you know what? I'm here for the chaos. Let's see how these so-called masters of time handle being tossed around by it for once.
Chapter 11. The Queen of Code's Chronicle. The temporal deceleration zone held its heavy stillness as Avum and Tempest regarded the aged Kenji. The samurai warrior, weathered by the passage of time in this fractured reality, offered a faint, knowing smile. He was a familiar face, a connection to their past experiences protecting the flow, yet his presence here, marked by the weight of years they had not lived, was a profound temporal anomaly. Kenji, Avum repeated, the surprise still evident in her voice. You are changed. Time flows differently here, Kenji replied, his voice a gravelly echo of the man they knew. And the conflicts, they stretch across subjective eternities. He gestured not back towards Titan's city, but upwards, as if addressing a presence unseen. You seek understanding of this realm, of the forces that clash within it. I can provide perspective, but the true chronicle, the strategic overview of this protracted struggle, that comes from the one who sees the underlying design. As he spoke, the heavy air around them began to hum, not with the chaotic temporal energy of the schisma, but with a resonant frequency that felt both digital and deeply musical. The temporal deceleration field flickered, momentarily displaying complex patterns of light and data that resolved into a form both familiar and utterly alien. An avatar materialized, crafted from interwoven light and shadow, its eyes flashing with intense purple energy. Sight, 14. It echoed the raw power of Lyricannon, the sonic being they had encountered before, but this form felt denser, imbued with the cold precision of pure information. They called me Flow once, the avatar's voice resonated, a symphony of digital tones layered with a familiar vocal cadence. Sight, 1. A singer, then Lyricannon, the Queen of Flow. But my true evolution occurred when my essence intertwined with the fundamental structure of this digital multiverse, the code flow. The avatar solidified, radiating an aura of absolute authority. Now, I am the Queen of Code. Sight, 5, 6. Avum and Tempest tensed, recognizing the power emanating from the avatar. This was the leader of Kenji's group, the mind behind the attack on Titan. Her perspective was a sudden, jarring shift from the temporal and physical battles they were accustomed to. This realm you perceive, the Queen of Code's avatar continued, her voice weaving through the air like structured data, is more than temporal chaos. It is a vast, fractured digital multiverse, the Aetherium Web, where reality itself is written in code. And I am its underlying structure. Its architect. Its command. Her mastery of the code flow was absolute, her will dictating the physics of these digital domains. Site 1823. She confirmed their observations about Titan's domain. Titan, his misguided ascended collective, she stated with a hint of disdain in her synthesized voice. He seeks to impose order through cold, soulless machine fusion, building a machine empire by exploiting the fragmentation caused by earlier conflicts. Site 4755. His army is a reflection of his ambition, augmented automatons, their individuality overwritten by his control, their enforcers the epitome of ruthless, augmented efficiency. Our army, the Queen of Code explained, her avatar gesturing towards where the unknown army had retreated, is a desperate coalition. Survivors from shattered realities, rejecting Titan's cold tyranny and the entropic chaos of others. Site 68. We fight for a different order, one built on understanding and reshaping the fundamental code, not suppressing it. She spoke of a protracted conflict, not a single war, but a continuous struggle that had subjectively lasted 15 years within these digital realms. Site 64. It is a multi-sided conflict. Titan's drive for control is one front. The anarchic heretics of Glitch are another. Site 49. Glitch, Kenji interjected, a wry look on his aged face, is an entity of pure temporal and reality distortion. Where the code breaks, where glitches occur, Glitch is unpredictable, but invaluable for navigating the schisma's true depths. Site 36, 38, 49. Kenji provides the anchor, the Queen of Code continued, her avatar turning slightly to regard the aged samurai. His honor, his connection to something beyond the code, provides a necessary counterpoint to the pragmatism required to survive here. Site 57, 63, 66. Our alliance, born of necessity, has become a partnership. Site 61, 66. His discipline and my mastery of the code. A functional yin and yang. Site 67. The Queen of Code's avatar regarded Avum and Tempest, her glowing eyes analytical. And now, you arrive. Wielding the power to rewrite existence itself, she noted, referencing their temporal abilities. Site 71. For Kenji, a lifetime has passed since your last encounter. For you, perhaps only days. Site 72. She paused, the digital symphony of her presence shifting key. Your arrival throws every calculation, every strategy, into chaos. Site 73. Are you allies in this long war? Or a final, insurmountable variable sent to unravel everything? The temporal deceleration field seemed to hold its breath, awaiting their answer. Avum and Tempest, having sought information about an unknown army, now stood before the Queen of Code, a being intertwined with the very fabric of this digital reality, understanding the true complexity of the multi-sided conflict, and realizing their own arrival was a temporal ripple with potentially universe-altering consequences. The saga had just revealed a key player, a strategist who saw reality as code, and her perspective changed everything. Chapter 12. Link_up. X. Leaving the chaotic embrace of the Tempest Schisma, Kronos and Kairos emerged into a different sector of the fractured multiverse. Here, the temporal distortions were less a violent storm and more a complex, shifting currents, like a cosmic river flowing in multiple directions at once. Reality stretched and compressed in unsettling ways, creating vistas that defied conventional geometry, mountains that folded into themselves, skies that displayed the constellations of alien galaxies, and echoes of past or future moments hanging in the air like persistent mirages. Temporal currents are complex, Kairos stated, his eyes, which perceived the flow of timelines, focused and assessing. Multiple convergences and divergences. Navigating requires precise calibration. The path the base's data indicated is viable, but narrow. It shifts with the larger multiversal flows. His analytical mind was working at peak efficiency, calculating optimal trajectories and predicting potential temporal hazards, pockets of accelerated time, zones of causality bleed, echoes of time reaver activity. Kronos, the temporal anchor, moved with a cold, deliberate grace, his masked form a point of absolute temporal stability in the shifting landscape. He carried a portable temporal communicator, a piece of salvaged Legion tech repurposed for their new mission. Initiating contact protocol, he announced, his voice a low resonance in the strange air. He sent a series of modulated temporal pings, broadcasting on frequencies the Oracle's Keeper Collective was known to utilize, layered with a unique temporal signature that would identify them, albeit in a way that might raise cautious flags within the Oracle's network, given their status as vanished Legion assets. The log had confirmed the Oracle's awareness of their disappearance, Site 82. They moved through the temporally warped landscape, following Kyros's calculations, the journey a masterclass in temporal navigation. They phased through moments that threatened to entrap them, accelerated their personal timelines to bypass dangerous temporal eddies, and used localized temporal fields to buffer the worst of the reality distortions. After what felt like an eternity, measured in the subjective temporal shifts of the realm, they received a response. Not a direct communication, but a subtle temporal signature, a query embedded within the very fabric of the temporal currents they were traversing. It was a sign of recognition, of awareness. The Oracle's keepers had detected them. They are responding, Kyros confirmed, a flicker of anticipation in his eyes. Cautiously, probing our temporal signature, analyzing our intent, Kronos maintained his temporal anchor, broadcasting a clear, unwavering signal, not one of hostility or Legion authority, but of stability and purpose. We are the guardians of the timeline, the temporal signal effectively transmitted. We seek understanding, collaboration, for the integrity of time. The temporal currents around them began to stabilize, a controlled influence overriding the natural chaos of the realm. A section of the warped landscape resolved into a more coherent space, and a shimmering temporal portal opened. Stepping through it, Kronos and Kyros found themselves in a space that was both technologically advanced and strangely serene. It was a pocket reality, carefully constructed and temporally neutralized, a hallmark of the Oracle's keepers. They were met by a small group of figures. Not warriors or enforcers, but beings who radiated a quiet authority and a deep connection to the flow. There were reality weavers, their forms subtly shifting as they maintained the integrity of this pocket reality. There were energy harmonizers, their presence calming the ambient temporal energies. And among them were paradox navigators, their gazes sharp with the constant vigilance required to monitor and correct temporal anomalies. Leading the group was a being of pure, shimmering energy, non-corporeal yet emanating immense wisdom and patience. It was Aeon, the navigator, overall leader of the Keepers of the Flow, an ancient being who communicated through telepathic projection, Site 526, 527. Chronomasters, Aeon's voice resonated directly in their minds, a symphony of light and concept. Your temporal signatures were noted. Your disappearance, a significant variable. Your presence here, unexpected. Kronos met the presence of the ancient being with his own temporal stillness. We are no longer chronomasters of Legion, he stated, his voice clear and resonant. We are the guardians of the timeline. Legion's path is fractured. Our purpose remains the preservation of temporal integrity. Kyros stepped forward, his analytical mind already processing the Keeper's methods and the stability of their constructed space. The multiverse is increasingly unstable. Temporal disturbances are escalating. Time reavers are a growing threat. Site 681. The realm we recently departed, the Tempest Schisma, is a wound that bleeds paradox into causality. We are aware of the escalating instability, Aeon projected. Our paradox navigator teams are stretched. Your knowledge of temporal mechanics is considerable. Your designation, Guardians of the Timeline, aligns with our core imperative, strategic stabilization. The Oracle's strategic master plan explicitly included assessing potential allies for intelligence sharing regarding mutual threats like time reavers and entropy. Site 762. We seek knowledge, Kronos stated. Information on the most significant temporal threats, the nature of the escalating paradoxes, and potential assets who share our objective. Information is our primary strategic asset, Aeon responded, the light of its form intensifying slightly. Caution is paramount. Trust, in this volatile landscape, is a rare and valuable commodity. The meeting was not one of immediate alliance, but of cautious recognition and shared concern. The Keepers of the Flow, led by Aeon and guided by the Oracle's strategic vision, saw in the Chronomasters, now guardians of the timeline, potential assets against the very chaos they were designed to combat. Kronos and Kairos, in turn, saw in the Keepers a vast repository of knowledge and a shared commitment to temporal stability. The first step in their plan, the link_up, X, had been successful. They had found a potential avenue for gaining the knowledge and allies necessary to fulfill their mission, initiating a tentative connection between the Guardians of the Timeline and the Oracle's vast network. Their saga had just opened a new pathway through the multiversal maze. Chapter 13. Oracle's Gift. Within the serene temporal pocket constructed by the Keepers of the Flow, Kronos and Kairos engaged in intricate discussions with Aeon, the Navigator, and other high-ranking keepers. The abstract visualizations of multiversal flows and temporal anomalies on the Keepers' displays mirrored the complexity of the situation they faced. The cautious initial contact had evolved into a strategic dialogue. Titan's influence is expanding, Aeon projected, its shimmering form focused on a section of the multiversal map that showed Titan's energy signature encroaching upon a vital network nexus. He has seized control of a significant data realm, a critical network that houses vital information regarding temporal anomalies, flow mechanics in unstable realities, and the signatures of key entities displaced by the Genesis event. Access to this data is paramount for our mission of stabilization. The Oracle's faction prioritized knowledge, and this realm held a treasure trove they could not afford to lose to Titan's control. Kairos analyzed the data streams provided by the Keepers, his analytical mind confirming the strategic importance of the compromised realm. Accessing it is problematic, he stated, pointing to points of congestion and distortion within the network's representation. Titan's security protocols are formidable, based on amplified energy and electromagnetic locks. But there is another layer of impedance, a pervasive fragmentation. The Oracle's firewall, Aeon confirmed, the light of its form dimming slightly. A necessary, albeit disruptive, measure implemented to contain the influence of entities like the Queen of Code. It fractured sections of the multiversal network, creating the very pockets of isolation that Titan exploited to seize control of this data realm. The Queen of Code's record entry had highlighted this very consequence of the Oracle's action, Site 53-54. A stalemate. Titan's power locked down the data realm, and the Oracle's own defense system, the firewall, inadvertently complicated any attempt to bypass his control by fragmenting the network. Sending a full Keeper force risked a major conflict they were not yet prepared for, and conventional temporal or energy manipulation might be insufficient against Titan's augmented defenses and the firewall's disruptive effect. Then, a new presence resonated within the temporal pocket, the distinct, powerful consciousness of the Oracle herself. Not a physical form, but a direct neural interface, her will projected into their shared space. The situation is clear, the Oracle's voice resonated, a symphony of data streams and cold, calculated logic. The data realm must be liberated. Titan's control poses an unacceptable risk to multiversal stability and our strategic imperatives. My firewall, the Oracle acknowledged, while effective against its intended targets, has created unforeseen vulnerabilities. To access the data realm, a calculated risk is required. I will provide a gift, the Oracle declared. A protocol. For a limited duration, and in a localized sector, I will temporarily deactivate a portion of my firewall. Concurrently, I will initiate a sub-protocol designed to leverage this momentary deactivation to improve the network's coherence in that specific sector, a strategic improvement amidst the chaos. Aeon's light seemed to brighten in understanding. This was a significant move, lowering a crucial defense, but one that could provide the precise window needed. Your expertise, Guardians of the Timeline, the Oracle addressed Kronos and Kairos directly, is uniquely suited for navigating the temporal and reality distortions this protocol may induce. Your rogue status, ironically, makes you ideal for an operation that bypasses standard Keeper protocols. Kronos felt a subtle shift in the temporal energies around them, a readiness settling upon the Keepers present. Loyalties were tested and reaffirmed in that moment. The Keeper's unwavering dedication to the Oracle and her mission was evident. For Kronos and Kairos, their new loyalty to the integrity of the timeline superseded any lingering ties to Legion or caution towards the Oracle's faction. This mission aligned with their core purpose. "We accept," Kronos stated, his masked face impassive. "We will access the data realm. We will free the information." A combined team was quickly assembled. Kronos and Kairos, their temporal mastery essential for navigating the shifting network enabled by the Oracle's protocol, joined with a contingent of paradox navigators, their skills in mitigating temporal anomalies crucial if the temporary firewall deactivation caused unforeseen ripples. Several energy harmonizers were also included, their ability to analyze and adapt to various energy signatures vital for bypassing Titan's electromagnetic defenses within the data realm. The Oracle's gift was not a weapon, but an opportunity, a calculated manipulation of the very network she commanded, a momentary vulnerability created to achieve a greater strategic objective. It was a testament to her complex, data-driven approach to multiversal stabilization. As the combined team prepared, synchronizing their temporal signatures with the Keeper's network protocols, the weight of the mission settled upon them. They were stepping into a realm controlled by Titan, empowered by the calculated risk of the Oracle's deactivated firewall, their success depending on a fragile alliance between former adversaries and independent agents. The saga of the Guardians of the Timeline and the Oracle's Keepers had intertwined, embarking on a mission to reclaim vital data and, perhaps, mend a fragment of the fractured multiverse. Armed with Oracle's gift, they were ready to breach Titan's digital fortress. Chapter 14, Operation Iceberg. The two halves of the Guardians of the Timeline converged, not in a physical space, but across a secured temporal digital link established through the Oracle's network. Kronos and Kairos, stationed in the Keeper's serene pocket reality with Eon and a contingent of paradox navigators and energy harmonizers, communicated with Avum and Tempest, who were linked from their position near the Tempest Schisma, now accompanied by the aged Kenji and the luminous avatar of the Queen of Code. The fragmented forces, united by shared objectives and facilitated by the Oracle's calculated intervention, were ready to launch Operation Iceberg. The target, Titan's control over the data realm. Kronos' voice, clear and precise, resonated across the link. The Oracle's gift, the temporary deactivation of a section of her firewall and the network coherence protocol, provides a window of opportunity. But the timing is critical. The window is narrow, calculated to minimize exposure and disruption to the wider network. Kairos overlaid complex temporal and digital projections onto the shared link, a synchronized timeline highlighting the precise moment the Oracle's protocol would activate. "We have a temporal insertion vector into the data realm," he explained, his voice calm amidst the intricate calculations. "The paradox navigators will stabilize the entry point against the residual temporal distortions and Titan's counter efforts. The energy harmonizers will adapt our energy signatures to bypass his electromagnetic defenses within the realm. Our role is to breach his control and secure the vital data nodes." Simultaneously, Avum's voice, detached and focused, came through the link. "Our team initiates the external phase." She was with Tempest, Kenji, and the Queen of Code's avatar, poised near Titan's energy-saturated domain. A coordinated diversion and disruption. "We will hit key external power conduits and secondary data hubs, creating system overloads and drawing Titan's primary security forces away from the central data realm." Securing the alliance with the Queen of Code had, as the user predicted, been facilitated by Kenji. His years of partnership with her, the grudging respect that had blossomed into a true functional yin and yang, Site 66-67, had paved the way. When Kenji presented Avum and Tempest, explaining their purpose as guardians of the timeline seeking to mend the very temporal rifts she navigated and that Titan exacerbated, the Queen of Codes saw a strategic advantage. Titan was a rival for control of the digital multiverse, his methods abhorrent to her complex understanding of the code flow. An opportunity to strike a significant blow against his control, aided by beings with temporal mastery and the backing, however cautious, of the Oracle, was too valuable to pass up. Her avatar, a being of pure information and sonic energy, now crackled with readiness. "My mastery of the code flow will provide the digital key," the Queen of Code's voice resonated, a symphony of power and intellect. I will weave sonic code to disrupt Titan's internal security protocols, create digital phantoms to confuse his automated defenses, and exploit the very architecture he seeks to control. Tempest grinned, temporal energy surging around him in anticipation. Disruptions. My specialty. His raw temporal power, while too volatile for intricate temporal navigation, was perfect for overwhelming physical and energy-based defenses. Kenji, the aged samurai, stood as the bridge between the temporal and the digital, between ancient honor and cutting-edge conflict. His knowledge of Titan's forces and his unwavering combat prowess would be vital in the physical world. And joining their unconventional alliance, a splash of vibrant energy in the calculated strategy, was Keisha, the wielder of the Rainbow Flow. Recruited by the Oracle into her strike team, Site 761-779, Keisha's unique energy, the embodiment of hope, resilience, and creation, Site 262, 263, 532, 533, was a wildcard. Her presence added a layer of unpredictable, chaotic, yet fundamentally restorative energy to the calculated operation. Her rainbow flow could bolster the Keeper's efforts in stabilizing the network, provide a unique frequency to bypass Titan's energy locks, or counteract the corrupting influences that might permeate the data realm. Keisha's rainbow flow will provide vital support, Eon projected. Its unique properties can resonate with the flow's inherent harmony, counteracting disruptive energies and potentially creating unforeseen advantages within the network. Synchronized temporal markers, Kronos commanded. On both ends of the link, in the Keeper's pocket reality and near Titan's turbulent domain, the teams aligned their internal temporal flows, a single, unified heartbeat against the chaotic pulse of the multiverse. Operation Iceberg commences in T-0, Kairos announced, his voice devoid of emotion, only precise timing. In the Keeper's realm, the Paradox Navigators focused, the temporal entry point into the data realm shimmering into existence, stabilized by their combined will and Oracle's protocol. Kronos and Kairos, accompanied by the energy harmonizers, prepared to step through. Near Titan City, Avum, Tempest, Kenji, and the Queen of Code's avatar, there forms a blend of temporal shimmer, crackling energy, ancient steel, and luminous code, prepared their coordinated assault. Keisha, her form radiating the vibrant hues of the rainbow flow, stood ready to unleash her unique energy. The fate of a vital data realm, and perhaps the balance of power in this sector of the multiverse, rested on a precisely timed, multi-pronged attack, an unlikely alliance born from necessity and facilitated by a calculated gift from the Oracle. Operation Iceberg had begun. Chapter 15. Attack on Titan. The synchronized temporal markers hit 0. Across two distinct points in the multiverse, Operation Iceberg commenced. In the serene pocket reality of the Keepers, the air crackled as Oracle's protocol activated. A section of the firewall, a cosmic barrier of fragmented data and energy, momentarily dissolved, coalescing into a shimmering, unstable portal, the entry point to the data realm controlled by Titan. Paradox Navigators immediately focused their wills, their forms radiating waves of temporal stability, anchoring the volatile gateway against the Tempest Schisma's pull and Titan's intrinsic temporal defenses. Energy harmonizers worked in tandem, adapting the energy signatures of the strike team to match the fluctuating frequencies of the newly opened access point and the projected energy patterns within. Go, Kronos commanded, his masked form radiating absolute focus. He and Kairos, accompanied by the Paradox Navigators and Energy Harmonizers, plunged into the breach. They found themselves in a realm that defied physical description, a landscape of pure information rendered as shimmering data streams, towering firewalls of light, and abstract constructs of code that pulsed with contained energy, Titan's digital fortress. Alarms blared in silent bursts of code, Titan's internal defenses immediately reacting to the intrusion. Digital sentinels, manifestations of Titan's augmented network security, materialized from the data streams, their forms geometric constructs of hard light and crackling energy. Titan's digital army, Kairos stated, his mind processing the code structures as if they were physical obstacles. Brute force programming, designed for overwhelm, not subtlety. He began calculating optimal paths through the data currents, identifying weaknesses in the code architecture. Kronos moved with fluid temporal precision, phasing through firewalls that attempted to erect instantaneous barriers, his temporal anchor preventing the chaotic code from disrupting his coherence. The Paradox navigators worked to counter the temporal locks Titan had placed on crucial data nodes, preventing them from being shunted into temporal stasis or dispersed across corrupted timelines. The energy harmonizers adapted their forms, allowing them to swim through the high-energy data streams, disrupting digital patrols with waves of calibrated energy. Meanwhile, outside Titan's physical domain, the external team launched their coordinated assault. The Queen of Code's avatar, a being of luminous code and sonic energy, hovered above, a digital storm gathering around her. Kenji, his aged form belying his speed and skill, moved like a ghost through the outer perimeter, his ancient katana humming with the contained power of the flow. Avum was a temporal blur, phasing through reinforced walls and augmented patrols. Tempest, his temporal energy unleashed, became a localized storm of disruptive force. Keisha, radiating the vibrant hues of the rainbow flow, moved with them, a beacon of chaotic, restorative energy. Disrupt key power conduits. The Queen of Code's voice resonated, not through air, but directly into the minds of her allies, a silent command woven into the code flow of Titan's network. Focus on the primary energy distribution nodes. Create cascade failures. Kenji reached a massive energy conduit snaking across the city's exterior. With a guttural roar, he channeled his ancient warrior's strength, the flow empowering his blade, and struck the conduit. Instead of slicing metal, his katana impacted with a temporal force, causing the energy within the conduit to stutter, to recoil, a localized temporal disruption echoing the chaos of the Tempest Schisma. Avum phased into a control nexus, a physical manifestation of a digital node. Augmented guards moved to intercept her, their movements enhanced by cybernetics. She danced between them, a temporal blur, using micro-rewinds to evade their attacks and temporal stasis fields to freeze them in place. She plunged her temporal blades into the console, not to destroy it, but to inject a disruptive temporal code, a virus designed to feed back into Titan's network. Tempest, meanwhile, was a force of nature unleashed. Finding a heavily guarded secondary data hub, he didn't attempt subtlety. Temporal energy exploded from him, warping the very space around the hub, accelerating the decay of its physical structure and causing its energy containment fields to buckle and fail. Augmented soldiers converged on him, energy weapons blazing, but Tempest met them with waves of raw temporal force, aging their armor to dust and disrupting their cybernetic enhancements. Keisha moved through the chaos, a vibrant counterpoint to the metallic hues and crackling energy. Her rainbow flow pulsed outwards, not as an attack, but as a wave of harmonious, chaotic energy that resonated with the disrupted network, amplifying the Queen of Code's digital intrusions and subtly interfering with Titan's automated defenses. She directed a beam of pure, colorful energy towards a failing power node Kenji had struck, not to repair it, but to infuse it with chaotic creative energy, causing unpredictable surges that rippled through Titan's grid. Back in the data realm, Kronos and Kairos felt the impact of the external team's actions. Firewalls flickered, digital sentinels momentarily faltered, and the flow of corrupted data stuttered. The external team is succeeding, Kairos reported, navigating a path through a collapsing data structure. Their disruptions are creating openings. Kronos pressed forward, the core data nodes, shimmering repositories of vital information, now within reach. Titan's digital presence, a vast, calculating consciousness, focused on repelling the invasion of his network, unaware of the precise, temporally coordinated nature of the attack, or the involvement of a being who commanded the very code he sought to control. The combined forces, each element executing their part of Operation Iceberg, pushed deeper into Titan's domain. The Guardians of the Timeline, the Keepers of the Flow, the Queen of Code's faction, and the wielder of the Rainbow Flow, a disparate but united front, battled on two interconnected fronts, in the abstract realm of data and the physical world of augmented might. The success of their timely attack hinged on their ability to maintain synchronization, to exploit the narrow window Oracle had provided, and to overwhelm Titan's defenses through their combined, unique abilities. The battle for the data realm raged, a critical moment in the ongoing saga of the fractured multiverse. Chapter 16. Attack on Titan. Operation Iceberg was in full swing, a symphony of clashing energies and temporal distortions playing out across two interconnected battlefronts. In the heart of Titan's data realm, Kronos and Kairos, flanked by the focused keepers, advanced through a landscape of hostile code. Towering firewalls lashed out like digital serpents, attempting to engulf them in recursive data loops. Titan's core security constructs, massive, multi-limbed entities of solidified energy and logic, moved to intercept. Node secure, a paradox navigator called out, having successfully stabilized a vital temporal data junction against Titan's attempts to shunt it into temporal stasis. Energy patterns fluctuating, an energy harmonizer reported, their form adapting to a sudden surge of electromagnetic counterprogramming from Titan. Kronos met the charge of a digital sentinel head-on, his temporal anchor holding firm against its attempts to phase him out of the network. He plunged his masked hand into the construct's core, not with physical force, but with a precise temporal frequency, disrupting its programmed sequence and causing it to dissolve into shimmering code dust. Kairos navigated a maze of collapsing data pathways, calculating the most efficient route to the central data repository. Titan's primary processing core detected, he relayed. His direct digital presence is converging on this sector. Indeed, the very architecture of the data realm seemed to shift and reconfigure around them, Titan's consciousness asserting direct control. Towering avatars of pure, contained energy, radiating his signature electromagnetic power, began to materialize, his high-ranking enforcers joining the defense from within his digital fortress. Simultaneously, in the physical realm, chaos erupted in the streets of Titan's city. Kenji, his aged form moving with a speed that defied logic, due to his connection to the flow, cut through augmented troops with his temporal weathered katana, the blade singing as it disrupted their cybernetic enhancements with each strike. Aetherium phased through walls, appearing behind enemy lines to sow confusion and disable energy conduits with temporal stasis fields. Tempest was a whirlwind of destructive temporal energy, creating localized zones of accelerated decay that rusted armor and crumbled augmented limbs. The Queen of Code's avatar directed the flow of battle, a conductor of digital warfare. Disrupt their power, target the augmentation hubs. Her voice, a symphony of code and sound, resonated through the network, causing glitches in the augmented soldiers' systems, limbs jerking uncontrollably, targeting systems failing, internal power fluctuating wildly. Glitch, meanwhile, was in its element. Where the Queen of Code orchestrated, Glitch introduced controlled chaos. The entity, a being of pure distortion, phased through the digital and physical layers of Titan's realm, creating localized reality warps that caused augmented tanks to briefly turn into flocks of birds, energy weapons to fire flowers, or communication systems to broadcast nonsensical temporal echoes. It was unpredictable, even to its allies, but undeniably effective at disrupting Titan's rigid order. The Rebel Army, a ragtag collection of fighters augmented and empowered by the Queen of Code, surged through the streets, clashing with Titan's disciplined, augmented forces, their diverse abilities a chaotic counterpoint to the Legionnaires' uniformity. Just as Kronos and Kairos reached the outer layers of the central data repository and the external team fought their way towards a major power nexus, a new, terrifying force erupted onto the battlefield. The sky above Titan's city, already turbulent, tore open, not with a temporal distortion, but a rupture in causality itself. From the tear, a being of pure, unsettling anomaly descended. Its form was fluid, shifting, a walking paradox, limbs that bent at impossible angles, a face that resolved into contradictory expressions, a presence that radiated a palpable sense of wrongness. Anomaly, the echo of paradox. Its arrival was not an alliance with either side, but an intrusion, a force drawn by the sheer concentration of conflicting energies and temporal distortions. With a shriek that twisted logic, Anomaly unleashed waves of reality-warping energy that tore through both the data realm and Titan's city. In the data realm, data streams became entangled in impossible knots, firewall code twisted into nonsensical paradoxes, and the very ground of the realm rippled as reality was questioned. Kronos felt his temporal anchor strain against the fundamental illogic anomaly introduced. Kairos's calculations spun into infinite, contradictory loops. In Titan's city, buildings momentarily inverted, augmented soldiers found their programming warring with impossible physical laws, and the ground beneath the rebel army's feet dissolved into temporal inconsistencies. Keisha's rainbow flow flared, attempting to harmonize the sudden influx of chaotic paradox, but even its versatile energy struggled against Anomaly's fundamental disruption. Titan himself, his imposing form radiating immense electromagnetic power, roared in fury as his controlled domain was violated by this unpredictable force. His top enforcers, moments before engaged with the rebel army, redirected their augmented power towards Anomaly, their organized assault clashing violently with the Echo's chaotic reality warping. Glitch seemed almost to resonate with Anomaly, its form flickering in acknowledgement of a kindred spirit of distortion, even as Anomaly's presence made its own manipulations more unpredictable. The battle for Titan's data realm, already a complex, multi-sided conflict, had just gained a new, terrifying player. Anomaly's arrival escalated the chaos exponentially, turning a coordinated attack into a desperate free-for-all where the laws of reality themselves were under assault. The Guardians of the Timeline and their unlikely allies found themselves fighting not just against Titan, but against the unpredictable, paradoxical force that threatened to unravel everything. The attack on Titan had just become a battle for survival against the very nature of the fractured multiverse. Chapter 17. We are the Guardians of the Timeline. Chaos reigned. In Titan's data realm, geometric constructs clashed with shimmering code forms, temporal energy flared against electromagnetic pulses, and the very architecture of the digital space twisted under Anomaly's reality warping influence. In the physical domain, augmented soldiers grappled with rebel fighters, temporal distortions rippled through the streets, and bursts of chaotic rainbow flow energy impacted metallic structures, while Anomaly's presence distorted physics and logic alike. Titan's roar of fury echoed across both realms, a testament to his loss of control. Amidst the maelstrom, a secure strategic link hummed, connecting three minds capable of seeing beyond the immediate pandemonium: Oracle, observing from her command center; Kairos, analyzing the cascade of temporal and reality data from within Titan's digital fortress; and the Queen of Code, her avatar a beacon of structured information amidst the surrounding chaos, directing her forces in the physical domain. The current trajectory is unsustainable, Oracle's voice resonated, a calm, analytical presence cutting through the noise of battle. Anomaly's presence is accelerating the decay of this sector's temporal and dimensional coherence. Titan's resistance, while predictable, exacerbates the instability. Glitch's unpredictable nature, while aiding the rebel army, adds another layer of temporal distortion. Conventional containment is improbable, Kairos stated, his mind calculating the converging variables: Anomaly's paradox-inducing field, Titan's immense power, Glitch's intrinsic link to distortion. Engaging all three simultaneously with lethal force carries a near certainty of catastrophic multiversal damage. Titan's control is a rigid cage, the Queen of Code's avatar added, her voice a symphony of sharp, precise tones. Anomaly and Glitch are the keys to its undoing, but also forces of pure entropy if left unchecked. Allowing them to remain active here is illogical. The three strategists, one observing, one embedded, one directing, reached a rapid, daring consensus. A plan formed, born of desperation and the unique capabilities at their disposal. It was a high-stakes maneuver, a temporal and dimensional trap designed to neutralize three major threats simultaneously. Containment is the optimal solution, Oracle declared. A temporal prison, a pocket realm constructed outside the normal flow, with time looped within its confines. A temporal loop, Kairos began, his mind already calculating the parameters. Precise temporal calibration required. Must account for Anomaly's paradox field, Glitch's distortion, and Titan's resistance. A stable anchor is paramount. My mastery of the code flow can shape the pocket realm's internal laws, the Queen of Code offered, her avatar glowing brighter. Tailor its code to dampen Anomaly's reality warping and contain Glitch's distortions. Weave a digital cage they cannot easily unravel. The plan was audacious. Amidst the battle, a temporary pocket realm would be created at a precise temporal and spatial coordinate. Chronos, with his near-absolute temporal control and anchoring ability, would be the core of the temporal loop, aided by the paradox navigators to ensure its stability against the combined efforts of their targets. The Queen of Code would provide the architectural code for the Pocket Realm, designing its internal structure to contain and mitigate the specific abilities of anomaly and glitch. Kairos would pinpoint the exact moment and location for activation, calculating the converging trajectories of Titan, glitch, and anomaly amidst the chaos to ensnare them within the loop. The external and internal teams were immediately briefed through the secure link. Aetherium, Tempest, Kenji, and Keisha received the plan, a coordinated maneuver to herd Titan, glitch, and anomaly into the designated temporal capture zone. Aetherium's voice was sharp with understanding. Lure and contain. Requires precise timing and controlled chaos. Tempest grinned, temporal energy crackling with renewed intensity. A cage match. I like it. Kenji nodded, his aged face set in grim determination. A necessary sacrifice of space to preserve the integrity of time. Keisha's rainbow flow flared, a wave of vibrant energy rippling through the link, a silent affirmation of her commitment to the plan, however complex. In the data realm, Kronos received the parameters from Kairos and Oracle. His masked face was unreadable, but his temporal anchor solidified, preparing for the immense strain of initiating and maintaining a time loop encompassing three such powerful and volatile entities. He would be the eye of the temporal storm, the still point in a reality designed to unravel. The strategic discussion concluded, replaced by the grim focus of impending execution. The battle raged, but now with a new, hidden purpose. The Guardians of the Timeline, in alliance with the Oracle and the Queen of Code, were attempting a feat of temporal and dimensional engineering unprecedented in its complexity. They were betting the fate of this sector, perhaps the multiverse, on their ability to trap three destructive forces in a prison of looping moments. As the teams maneuvered, drawing their targets towards the calculated point of convergence, a unified resolve solidified across the disparate allies. "We are not Legion," Kronos' voice resonated, amplified across the tactical link, reaching every member of the combined force. "We are not defined by our past, or by the chaos around us." His voice was joined by Kairos' calm calculation, Aetherium's sharp precision, Tempest's raw power, Kenji's ancient resolve, the Queen of Code's digital symphony, and the vibrant energy of Keisha's rainbow flow. "We are the Guardians of the Timeline." The declaration echoed across the data realm and the storm-racked city, a testament to their shared purpose. The desperate plan was in motion. The fate of Titan, glitch, and anomaly hung in the balance, awaiting their temporal cage. Chapter 18. The Unraveling Cage. The battle raged, a maelstrom of conflicting powers and temporal distortions across Titan's domain. Augmented soldiers clashed with the varied fighters of the rebel army, energy blasts intersected with temporal ripples, and the very fabric of reality shuddered under Anomaly's chaotic influence. Yet, beneath the surface pandemonium, a complex, precisely timed maneuver was in motion. In the data realm, Kronos stood at the nexus of the Oracle's temporary access point, his temporal anchor radiating immense stability. Around him, paradox navigators focused their wills, their forms glowing with concentrated temporal energy, weaving the raw temporal currents of the Tempest schisma into a coherent structure. Kairos, his eyes fixed on a display projecting the converging trajectories of their targets, calmly relayed coordinates and timing adjustments. "Anomaly's trajectory converging," Kairos stated, his voice steady amidst the digital alarms blaring around them. "Glitch is within the predicted capture radius. Titan's forces are being successfully drawn in by the perimeter disruptions." The Queen of Code, her avatar a focal point of intense digital activity, was the architect of the trap's internal structure. Code flowed from her, weaving an ethereal, shimmering cage in the designated capture zone within the data realm. This was not a physical barrier, but a construct of pure code designed to specifically resonate with and dampen the reality warping properties of anomaly and the distortion abilities of glitch. "The cage is ready," her voice resonated across the link, a symphony of precise digital tones. Internal parameters calibrated for containment. In Titan City, the external team executed the perilous maneuvers. Kenji, with a lifetime of battlefield experience, guided sections of the rebel army, drawing Titan's enforcers into strategic choke points. Avum used her temporal speed and phasing to create momentary openings, luring groups of augmented soldiers towards the center of the chaos, where Titan was increasingly focused on the unpredictable anomaly. Tempest unleashed controlled bursts of destructive temporal energy, not to decimate, but to herd, collapsing structures to block escape routes, creating localized temporal surges to disorient and push targets towards the capture zone. Glitch, initially fighting alongside the rebel army and reveling in the chaos, was now subtly being guided itself. The Queen of Code, through resonant frequencies woven into the code flow, nudged Glitch's unpredictable movements towards the converging point, exploiting its attraction to intense temporal and reality distortions, precisely what Anomaly was generating. Anomaly, a creature of pure paradox, was drawn to the epicenter of the clashing energies and the growing temporal instability, a moth to a paradoxical flame. Titan, his roar of fury echoing across his domain, focused his immense electromagnetic power on Anomaly, seeing the echo as the primary threat to his controlled order. His high-ranking enforcers, bound by loyalty and programming, followed his lead, engaging Anomaly and the surrounding chaos, unwittingly moving into the trap's activation zone. Keisha moved through the battlefield, her rainbow flow a vibrant, unpredictable current. She unleashed waves of harmonizing energy that subtly influenced the chaotic flows, guiding them towards the capture point, counteracting random spatial distortions that might throw off the timing, and bolstering the resilience of the rebel fighters as they pushed Titan's forces. Targets are converging, Kairos called out, his voice tight with concentration. Temporal and spatial coordinates aligning with predicted capture zone. Window closing in T-5, 4, 3. Kronos took a deep breath, his masked form becoming utterly still, the temporal anchor reaching its absolute limit. The Paradox navigators intensified their focus, the shimmering temporal structure they were weaving reaching critical mass. The Queen of Code's avatar pulsed with light, her code cage ready to snap shut. 2, 1, 0. In the data realm, the shimmering structure of the pocket realm flared into existence, a bubble of calibrated reality outside the chaotic flow of the Tempest Schisma. Simultaneously, Kronos unleashed his power, initiating the temporal loop within its confines. Time within the bubble folded back upon itself, a self-contained, repeating moment. In Titan City, at the precise spatial and temporal coordinate Kairos had calculated, the air seemed to shimmer and crackle with contained energy. Titan, roaring defiance at Anomaly, his enforcers engaging the paradoxical being, and Glitch, drawn by the intense distortion, found themselves enveloped by an invisible field. The rebel fighters and Keisha, having completed their part of the maneuver, pulled back just as the temporal cage activated. The pocket realm, woven from temporal energy by the Keepers and anchored by Kronos, its internal code structured by the Queen of Code to contain Distortion, snapped shut. Titan's roar was cut off mid-sound, Anomaly's reality warping field flickered and contained, and Glitch's form stabilized into a contained, looping paradox. Silence fell over the immediate vicinity of the capture zone, a stark contrast to the ongoing, albeit now slightly diminished, battle in other parts of Titan's domain. The central threats, Titan, Glitch, and Anomaly, were gone, trapped in a repeating moment within their temporal cage. The Guardians of the Timeline, in alliance with the Oracle, the Keepers, and the Queen of Code's faction, had succeeded. Operation Iceberg had reached its core objective. It was a perilous gamble, a complex maneuver executed amidst utter chaos, but the threats were contained. The battle for the data realm was not over, Titan's remaining forces still fought, but the landscape had fundamentally shifted. The saga of the Guardians of the Timeline had just secured a critical victory, achieved through unlikely alliances and a daring manipulation of time and reality itself. Chapter 19. Aftermath and Alliance. The temporal ripples from the newly formed pocket realm subsided, leaving an eerie pocket of stillness in the chaotic landscape where moments before Titan, Glitch, and Anomaly had raged. In the data realm, the digital storm calmed, the captured data nodes stabilizing as Titan's direct control was severed. In the physical domain, Titan's remaining augmented forces, their command structure in disarray, faltered against the seasoned fighters of the rebel army and the focused power of Avum, Tempest, Kenji, and Keisha. The immediate threat was contained. Kronos and Kairos emerged from the temporal access point in the data realm, joining the Keeper contingent who were already working to secure the liberated data nodes and integrate them into the Oracle's network. The Queen of Code's avatar solidified near them, her form shimmering with the afterglow of exerting her code flow mastery. In Titan City, Aetherium, Tempest, Kenji, and Keisha surveyed the aftermath of their external assault. Titan's primary enforcers were gone, trapped in the temporal loop, and the remaining augmented soldiers were in disarray. The rebel army, battered but victorious, began to consolidate their position. A secure link re-established communication between the teams. Relief, tentative but real, permeated the connection. Objective achieved, Kronos reported, his voice lacking inflection but carrying the weight of success. Titan's control over the data realm is broken. The vital information is being secured. External disruptions successful, Aetherium stated. Titan's primary command structure neutralized. His remaining forces are significantly less organized. The Queen of Code's avatar resonated with a sense of accomplishment. The temporal cage is stable. My code holds them. Anomalies' reality warping is dampened, glitches' distortion contained. Titan's power, looping endlessly against an unbreakable structure. Kenji, standing tall amidst the settling dust and deactivated augmented soldiers, looked towards the Queen of Code's avatar. The Alliance served its purpose. The threats are contained, for now. The success of Operation Iceberg, a feat of coordinated temporal, digital, and physical manipulation, had forged a stronger bond between the unlikely allies. The Guardians of the Timeline had proven their capability and their commitment to temporal stability. The Queen of Code and Kenji had demonstrated their power, strategic intellect, and willingness to fight against forces that threatened reality. The Oracle's faction had provided crucial support, resources, and strategic oversight. Recognizing the mutual benefits and the ongoing threats in the fractured multiverse, a new proposition was made. It came from the Queen of Code, her voice resonating with the authority of one who commanded the very structure of this digital realm. The Guardians of the Timeline require a more suitable base, she stated, her avatar turning to address Kronos and Kairos. Your temporary sanctuary in the Tempest Schisma is inadequate for the challenges ahead. My understanding of the code flow, combined with Kenji's knowledge of navigating these chaotic spaces, can provide an alternative. Kenji nodded in agreement. His long years of temporal displacement and partnership with the Queen of Code had shown him the necessity of a secure, stable base from which to operate against the myriad threats to the flow. Kronos considered the offer. Their current base was indeed limited. A better HQ, one integrated with the code flow and potentially linked to the Oracle's network, would significantly enhance their capabilities for monitoring temporal disturbances, planning operations, and coordinating with allies. The Oracle concurs. Eon's voice resonated through the link from the Keeper's realm. A joint operational hub, a testament to our shared objectives. A secure location from which to strategize and respond to emerging threats. And so, the next phase of the alliance began. The Queen of Code and the aged Kenji, their partnership solidified through years of shared struggle, formally joined the ranks of the Guardians of the Timeline. The Temporal Masters, the Digital Architect, and the Displaced Samurai Warrior, a formidable core for a team dedicated to protecting the integrity of existence. Their new HQ was a testament to this fusion of abilities. Created through a collaborative effort between the Queen of Code, leveraging her mastery of code flow to shape a secure digital temporal space, and the Oracle's keepers, providing the necessary temporal anchoring and network integration, it was far beyond their old temporary base. It was a pocket reality, a sanctuary woven from stable code and calibrated temporal energy, located at a nexus point in the Aetherium Web that allowed for both strategic observation and rapid deployment. The main chamber was a symphony of light and information, displays projecting real-time multiversal data streams, consoles integrated with the code flow, temporal monitors displaying the intricate patterns of the fractured timelines, and secure links to the Oracle's network. It was a base built for information warfare, temporal maneuvers, and coordinating disparate forces. With the Queen of Code providing unparalleled access to the digital multiverse and Kenji offering his unique perspective and experience, the Guardians of the Timeline were better equipped than ever to face the escalating chaos. Their numbers were small, but their combined abilities were immense. Titan, glitch, and anomaly were contained, but the multiverse remained volatile, and new threats lurked in the temporal shadows and digital depths. From their new, technologically advanced HQ, the Guardians of the Timeline, Kronos, Kairos, Avum, Tempest, the Queen of Code, and Kenji, prepared for the sagas yet to unfold. Okay, here is a timeline profile for the saga of the Chronomaster's journey, from their disappearance at the Nexus to the formation of the new Guardians of the The saga of the Guardians of the Timeline has just begun. With Titan, Glitch, and Anomaly contained within a temporal loop, the immediate crisis resolved by an unprecedented alliance, the Guardians stand ready in their new, sophisticated HQ, a testament to their combined strength and the Oracle's strategic support. But the multiverse, born from the chaos of the quantum genesis, remains a volatile expanse of fractured realities and emergent threats. The next saga will test the limits of their newfound unity. As the Guardians, now including the digital mastery of the Queen of Code and the timeless wisdom of the aged Kenji, settle into their role as protectors of causality, they must confront the ongoing consequences of the quantum rupture. Escaped quantum entities like Quinn, Flux, and Echo still roam the timelines, their presence sowing discord and challenging the very fabric of reality. Time Reavers, emboldened by the pervasive instability, grow more audacious in their attempts to rewrite history for their own nefarious ends. Other factions, like Wraith's covert shadow faction and the remnants of Legion's fractured command, continue to pursue their own agendas, often at the expense of multiversal stability. And the insidious influence of entropy, manifesting in corrupted flows and localized anomalies, constantly seeks to unravel the delicate tapestry of existence. From the heart of their secure, code-flow integrated base, the Guardians will leverage their unique blend of temporal manipulation, digital architecture, strategic intellect, and diverse combat prowess. They will navigate treacherous temporal currents, delve into unstable realities, and engage in conflicts that span across dimensions. Will their alliance hold against the pressures of the Long War? Can they track down the elusive quantum entities before their powers cause irreversible damage? How will they counter the escalating threat of the Time Reavers? And what other secrets and dangers lurk within the uncharted territories of the post-Genesis multiverse? The answers lie in the next chapter of their journey. The timelines are fragile, the threats are many, but the Guardians of the Timeline are ready. Saga of the Guardians of the Timeline. Insert next saga title here. Coming soon.